would be honored if you would join us.
Interestingly, Will Smith, in those interviews that he's done since about the movie, said that it's been quoted about saying he knew the movie wasn't any good, to the point where he was embarrassed at just what a sizable hit it was, and it did earn an awful lot of money in its opening weekend, and it did turn into a sizable overseas hit, and Warner Brothers got its money back. So in that sense, it's hard to call Wild Wild West an abject failure. Also, one thing just about the movie's post production, I can't get to the source of this, but I did read that once the film was in post production, Warner Brothers Quality Control Department, I don't know if there's such a thing, I don't know if it's called anything that overt, was pretty reluctant to work on the film because everyone seemed to know that it had a failure on its hands. And if your lead star is also thinking that, even though he wouldn't be saying it out loud at the time, it's pretty likely that others right throughout the studio were aware of it as well. What's of I do think what's of further interest is the ramifications of Wild Wild West and how the story of blockbuster cinema changed as a consequence of the summer of 1999. Because what we then began to see over the ensuing decade, in particular, was the erosion of the movie star vehicle, of the fact that you could pay a big movie star or two to headline your film and be guaranteed a big opening weekend as a consequence. And you saw that with the marked contrast between The Matrix and Wild Wild West, that one of those films was significantly more profitable for Warner Brothers than the other. What's for Things didn't transform overnight, and I think it's worth noting that as well. That the following year's biggest American release was The Grinch with Jim Carrey, followed by Tom Hanks starring in Castaway, followed by Tom Cruise starring in Mission Impossible 2. But the next step I would suggest, and it's one we might look at again in a future film stories, was the X-Men film that followed the year after. Not just because that was a significant moment in comic book superhero movies, but also it was a significant moment, just as The Matrix was, and this isn't downplaying Keanu Reeves at all, but just as The Matrix was, in how much does a movie star's name matter when you've got such a visually striking, if I'm loath to say effects driven, but certainly effects heavy movie. In the case of Wild Wild West, we were, of course, left with the immortal title song, and Will Smith would continue to develop movie stars. I mean, let's not forget that it was his star name, really, that helped power I Am Legend to become such a massive success for Warner Brothers, and that was, the studio and Smith was still following ventures such as that just under a decade later. However, the legacy of Wild Wild West, I'd suggest, which was Warner Brothers' most expensive blockbuster movie of all time to make at that particular moment, will continue to be felt for some time after. Likewise, The Matrix. Thank you for watching this Film Stories video. We hugely appreciate the support. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be great. If you could like the video, that would be great too. If you want to comment on the video, that would be great. Any support you can give small independent channels like ours is always hugely appreciated. Thank you.